What's up, everybody? Back with another one. Favorite videos of the week. It's Q&A Sunday. If you guys have never been here for these before, two ways we do it. If you have questions you would like me to answer, whether it be esports related, Rocket League related, or about myself, feel free to ask in the comments down below or come over to the stream, twitch.tv/Lawler, where we got people in chat hanging out, and we're going to be talking and answering their questions. We'll try to alternate between the two, but the ones that you like the most, give them a like. They'll go to the top, and then if there's something we can discuss, we talk about it. So, with that said, let's jump straight into it. First one is going to be about the rumors of Justin. With rumors of Justin moving away from NRG, in a world where results are the only thing that matter, what do you think would happen to the remaining roster? Do Garrett and Squishy remain on NRG and adopt a third? If so, who? Do they all leave NRG and find new teams? And if it's the later, what teams granted an opening in any roster do you think individual would benefit most from? Say, example, Magic left Optic, Garrett takes the spot, and moves off the table is hypothetical. We're looking. Okay, so a couple things to discern from this. First things first, right now the current rumor, if you guys don't know, is that Justin potentially leaving NRG and going to Furia instead of and taking like Kaio's place. I think that's what the current like rumor is. Whether that happens or not, I don't foresee it happening, but you just never know. I think NRG's situation, and I've talked about this quite a bit, is that I feel that NRG right now is a situation where they have tried and gone through a lot of positives and is in a downward trend. And normally, while I say, you know, work through it, figure out a new play style, do what you got to do, I think each player, no matter who changes, it doesn't matter who it is, whether Garrett leaves, Squishy leaves, or Justin leaves, I think that team will be more successful if some change of anything is enacted. They will be better. Grass is greener situation for everybody involved. I don't think NRG is going to ever get out of the RL space. So I feel like if they do, it will be a rebuild and they will keep one of those players and then try to entice others. NRG pays very well and have a massive fan base. So I think that could possibly happen. But who is to leave? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Garrett leaves and goes elsewhere. That is rumors that have happened in the past as well, where Garrett almost went to G2 at one point. But I don't know what the dynamic is internally. I don't know what the situation is between each of the players. I don't know if one player is leaving or otherwise. A lot of people in the pro scene think that if anybody was to leave, pro coaches have said this and otherwise, that Squishy is the one that should probably go. And it's not that Squishy is a bad player or this or that. It's just dynamic wise, maybe internal stuff or mentalities or whatever. That if Squishy leaves, then you get a different formula for success, whatever that may equate to, right? We did get to see not NRG play in the Musty tournament, which was like what, Rise, AJ, and Garrett, and they smacked just about everybody, which I think playstyle wise actually makes sense. Garrett can fulfill and do anything he's asked of role wise. You've got AJ, who's cracked mechanically as a solo player, and Rise enables and is also clutch. So yeah, it makes sense that they were successful even with the ping. So I don't think NRG leaves. I think NRG would stay in the space and they would rebuild. The problem right now is they do have a decent amount of points in the space. Right now, I think ranking wise, they are what, top 7, 8? They're 6th. They're 6th in the rankings right now. And if they change 2/3 of their team, then they forfeit those points. And while they can make them back, they're in a pretty good spot. Like they're just outside the top 5. That's going to only climb even more after the major. So they are the next closest, and teams like Complexity, Furia, Optic and stuff are only going to be continuing to be competitive. So I think they're going to probably try to keep 2/3 of the roster if they do make a change. If they get rid of Squishy, who do they bring in? It entirely is dependent on who is available and what teams are trying to make transfers and changes. Again, there's a lot of times that these buyouts and stuff do or do not happen. Sometimes the teams ask for too much. Sometimes it's just a lack of availability. I think that's kind of what happened with Rogue. Rogue probably tried out a bunch of people during the offseason and just no one was available. So who do you bring in that's going to make enough of an impact for them to be successful? That's kind of the hard question. So I honestly don't know who takes a spot. I don't know who leaves. I don't know if that's even going to happen. But I do personally feel that a change needs to happen. It's just a matter of who. And I think no matter where that player goes or who comes in, it is going to be beneficial for everybody involved. I really do. So that's my thought process on the whole situation. But it is definitely a wait and see scenario of what the heck it's going to look at. Something's got to change. They need a new mentality. They need a mental reset. Anytime you can see they play a team like V1, they're living rent free. And they're just, again, a mental change with a new player is something that sometimes is just needed. So it'll be interesting to see on what happens with that roster. It's pretty crazy. Despot says, in a recent video, you talked about the NA versus EU debate being overdone. Do you think there is anything casters and team streams can help build new and more exciting narratives? For example, V1 versus Torrent for Minnesota supremacy. Yeah, we already know how that one went. Torrent never won, and they got bodied every time, and now they don't even have a team. So GG easy for V1 on that one. Jokes aside, Despot, yes. I think team streams have a really important job to continue to push narratives and overall storylines for their individual teams. And then it is up to the RLCS broadcast team to be able to decipher those narratives or reach out to those teams and try to, if they're willing, push those narratives even more so. I do think, obviously, with being V1 as the team I cover, I think it's ridiculous. And you even see Com talking about it in his interviews lately, that every single person on the desk discredits V1, yet they've gotten top 8, top 6, top 3. And yet people are like, nah, they're going to go 0-2, 0-3 and out. Like, yeah, they're not even going to make it out of Swiss. They're not going to make top 8. I'm like, the worst they've performed since Beast Mode came in was 9-12 in his very first split where they lost to their former player and gimmick. Since then, top 8 has been the worst, even with them looking really bad some days. Top 8 is their basement. Those narratives and those things people needing to educate themselves, I think, is also a product of issue with just Psyonix in particular with the broadcast team. The broadcast team is required to cover a bunch of different regions. I think they should have an NA and EU only casters where their focus is only North American storylines, and these casters only cover European storylines. And I'm not saying all the European casters need to cover Europe and all the North American casters need to cover North America. You should mix and match, find some people willing, because they are under salary and you're paying them a ton of money. Have some of the NA guys cover EU and have some of the EU guys cover NA, and give us that mix of styles. And then when we come to the World Championship, you have your experts on their regions that make sure that every storyline is covered. I think these things are really important. So I think primarily it starts at the people in position. I am one of those people that I have the ability to push narratives for version 1, which I think I do a pretty good job of. I think we cover a lot of those interesting storylines, and I ask questions and try to identify things. If you go and watch the press videos I do, I try to ask questions about some of those things, like, Squishy, who do you think is underrated? Who doesn't get enough love in the space? Hey, what's the storyline? You guys were, the top dogs for so long, and now you're having to bounce back. What's that like? Those types of things I think are way more important. And you can even hear in like the interviews I do with K-Corp in their press conference, Astro references the questions I ask to the questions he's being asked by other interviewers. So we are trying to push better narratives, enough of the like cutesy, family friendly, like, I'm going to ask you the hard questions, the one that suck to answer, but it's the stuff people actually want to know. We need to stop holding back. People need to be held accountable. You are a professional. You're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this job. We should stop shying away from some of these questions, even though they may be a little bit difficult. People are going to be criticized. People are going to be held accountable. And that goes to the interviewer as well. I hope players, if they get asked a terrible question, go, I don't want to answer that. Like, that's a dumb question. Or they give us a terrible answer because it is boring. Like, the amount of times I've seen interviews where it's like, so how did you get into Rocket League? What do you like about Rocket League? Where does your name come from? Like, ask me something unique, Do your homework and ask good questions. We all should hold each other accountable for that stuff. Things can be so much better because when we do get those answers and that insight, which is why I like the laid back style of the CJ show and the Chalk cast and stuff like that, the insight that those things have and the real conversations they have, I hope players stop being afraid of being PR and this and that and just being real people, That's the dream. And it's going to take time as people get older. Where does your name come from? Well, my name is Garrett. My last name's Gordon. So Garrett G. Some of those, we've heard them thousands of times, though. That's the issue. Up next, Cheesy Snail Burgers. What a name. I've been listening to the Rocket League podcast this season. Oh, this is convenient. About top-level Rocket League players not having the opportunity to have a break. I agree. You're talking 6 weeks during the offseason. It's not enough time. Do you believe they should have a time for a compulsory break, then have a preseason or something similar? With these players being so good at the game with thousands of hours, it shouldn't take that long to get back into their high performance. What are your thoughts? It's not about getting back into the high performance. It's about the mental strain and the grind that it is to be a pro. You're talking about a 10, 11-month season nonstop. If you go to the World Championship and then you have 6 weeks for roster changes, practice, scrim, make sure that the new player that you're going to pick up potentially is going to fit, and then you get right back into another season. I mean, you had most of the players that went to Bali, like Jack and the Boys guys and stuff, immediately have to turn around and come back early because all the roster imploding that went down. You saw the same kind of thing in Counter-Strike. I talked about this in a recent video where after doing this open circuit based style, they came together and were like, we need to have a mandatory 3 months off because that stuff is important. So Yeah, I do think it's going to be a conversation in the future. I am trying to put together a long form conversation on stream one day, talking about a 2-split format, or what the optimal format is. It's going to have people who help with the format like Gibbs, hopefully some pros that are involved in it, what they think, hopefully a coach, because they know about the scrim and the scheduling and the logistical side of things, and hopefully tackle it from every avenue. And it might be a super long form conversation, and hopefully then we can identify what is the optimal way. And I'm going to disagree with Jeffrey here. Please never bring back the RLRS. Please never bring back league play. Please never make me watch 2 good matches, an entire split, and that's it. And everything else doesn't matter. If they bring back the rival series, it better be for the amateur bubble scene and provide them regular tournaments to play and get better in. And it's going to operate at a loss. Talk about that in a video recently too. Ashes says, recently on one of the Chalkcast episodes, they talked about needing more tournaments that aren't linked to the RLCS, like E-League, Gamers 8, etc. I agree. Do you think more tournaments outside of RLCS would be beneficial for the players, not having to focus super hard on tournament that's not for RLCS points or anything? Yes, I do. Those tournaments are fun. They kind of reinvigorate the love and the passion for the game. Those, I think you can have still tournaments with good prize pools and good exposure to it, but they can also be focused on content. The kind of focus, as MC Hammer kind of talks about, and this is something as well, is 2 splits with 2 majors, a world championship, 3-month off season. That would in theory give you what, 5 months with the 3-month off season, right? So you're talking 8 months out of the year. That means it gives you 4 months, right? It gives you 4 months for open tournaments. If you ran 4 lands, 1 a month, you still have 3 weeks off in between. You can still go and bring new rosters and use those as like official tryout things. If you did like 32 team dream hacks 4 times a year, as well as 2 splits, pros would be in heaven. They would love it so much. So I think those opportunities are definitely there, and it's kind of the route that I would like to go. But you definitely need the Gamers 8s, the E-Leagues. You get good content out of it. Psyonix gets to learn from outside sources and outside tournament organizers on different ways to approach things, and it creates that creativity going. It inspires and invigorates content creators and everything else. I think they're really, really cool. I think there's a lot of really awesome ideas of being able to do that. The thing that needs to happen most, though, out of all of that conversation, though, Ashes, is Psyonix needs to be willing to let these organizers run wild. There's a bunch of restrictions, and they're getting better about those restrictions. But I hope in the future, Psyonix looks at goes and goes, hey, as long as it doesn't conflict with RLCS dates, go nuts. If you want to put $1 million, $2 million prize pool in, and it's bigger than ours, that's on us. If you want to run some crazy tournament structure we've never seen before, that's on you. It's your own risk. I hope that Psyonix continues to get better about giving freedom to organizers, because those types of things are, one, what the community wants, it's what the players want, and that diversity, and that's like Gamers 8 is arguably one of the best tournaments that's ever been ran. You ask any player, hospitality, all that kind of stuff, they're like, it was amazing, and nothing compares. The only thing that comes remotely close is E-League, because E-League was ran by TBS in a TV studio. So, which I was happy to work both the 2017 and 2018, and I can say the exact same thing. E-League has tainted my vision on what it is like to work in esports. Yeah, it's wild stuff. It's absolutely wild. So, good question, though. Good question. More, please. More, please. Makes a big difference. Like you said, the mentality and the approach of going and playing in those tournaments versus otherwise, it's different for the players. It really is. How realistic is to have the 3rd regional invitational that the teams get invited to be a LAN? I think it's more plausible because you know what teams they're going to be ahead of time. The difficulty, though, is you only have 2 weeks to do that and get everybody invited. It probably won't happen, though, because kids are too young. You can't really have a LAN with a 2-week notice with kids that are 15, 16, 17. There's just limitations. I don't know if they're going to have like DreamHack capability with the ESL DreamHack partnership to where they can run a LAN with that kind of stuff. While it would be cool, a lot of limitations in Rocket League because of the ages. If you could see any pro in a maid outfit, who would it be and why? We've already seen Rizzo in one. Wrap it up. We're done. GG easy. That's what I got for questions for today. We're going to try to keep this one again under the 15-minute mark. We usually go way too long on these, so that is going to do it for Q&A Sunday. Appreciate you guys all. A lot of fun questions today as well as everybody popping by. But that is what I've got. If you guys have any additional questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments down below. Always love hearing from y'all and your questions and your insight. We also do this daily on stream. Twitch.tv/Lawler every day but Tuesday and Sunday. Come hang out with us. We would love to answer your questions. We do this literally all day, every day. You guys kind of dictate what we talk about. So that is going to do it. As always, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications, turn those on, please. Also, if you see a question you like, give it a like in the comments down below. Bump those to the top so we can talk about them. And if you don't get your question answered, come over here and hang out with us. But it's going to do it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.